This episode of The Dennis Show is in honor of a good friend, a much better person than I am, than most people. Our old friend, Old School, Old Fool. May wherever you are resting now be so much better than this place.
The Dennis Show. The Dennis Show. The Dennis Show. The fucking Dennis Show. The Dennis Show. The Dennis Show. The Dennis Show. The fucking Dennis Show.
I'll let you introduce yourself, and you can throw out your plugs right now, because no one's going to listen to the whole show.
Well, I understand how that is. Thank you very much for having me. I am very glad to finally be doing this. It's been almost probably a couple of years since I've been trying to get this accomplished, but
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here. So I'm Rick Del Santo. I have a little podcast called the PWZ Podcast, where I just randomly talk about wrestling all the time. There could be as many as one show a week or 6 or 7, depending on my mood and my energy. And you could, find me on Twitter at the Rick Del Santo, and where I just act like an obsessive wrestling fan. And sometimes I get upset. I've been a little chill as of late and not complaining about the state of the industry. So
I don't know if you've noticed me on mine, but I honestly, I'm kind of tapped out on the wrestling for right now. Like, I'll go through stages, and I think everybody does, like, especially guys our age. Like, we'll go through stages where we'll watch it religiously for months on end, and then I don't know if it's like real life gets in the way, or it just becomes repetitive and it all looks the same and feels the same, and you just lose interest for a little bit. But I'm going through that stage right now, and I've done it's happened in the past, and certain things have brought me back. Like, it was the 20th anniversary or the 25th anniversary of Hogan turning heel for the first time. That was one that brought me back for a little bit, and then CM Punk's pipe bomb, that brought me back. And right now, I'm just waiting for something. It's just all boring to me right now.
for the most part, I'd have to agree that it is all boring. And I think that you and I had a discussion probably a couple of weeks ago, where I was looking for recommendations, where I just said the corporate side of professional wrestling is really bothering me. It's just everything's the same. It's repetitive. It's not as interesting because they're trying to market to advertisers, basically, to try to get, the big dollars.
Do you think it's
kind of where?
Do you think it's finally happened that there's just too much product to consume?
If I was like 8 years old, I would have said no, because that's all I did. You know what I mean? But as a 45-year-old man, there is a lot out there, and it's really good for these young guys that want to be wrestlers, etc.
Sure.
But for me, yes, this is why I pick and choose. Like, how many actual wrestling fans still watch the corporate side, such as like WWE?
I don't
AEW.
know.
Yeah, I have no idea. I know some people do, but they're still in business after 60 some odd years. But,
I mean, you look at the ratings, and the ratings are tanking for WWE, and I know a lot of people will scream, "No, they're still popular, they're still the best," and they're not. It's not entertaining at all. I mean, they made $1 billion last year, but you know what? So did McDonald's, and McDonald's isn't delicious food.
They've also assisted in killing many Americans as well, but
Right.
so no, as I'm shoving a pizza down my throat, so they've had very profitable periods during the roughest period of professional wrestling because of the advertisers and obviously releases. They're letting a lot of guys go. And the whole state of the business is different. Indie wrestling was exploding prior to the pandemic. Was like 2 years ago, or over a year now, and all of a sudden they just put everything on a halt. But it's slowly,
some of them did, not all of them.
Well, there was some that were still able to run, but it was just a really awkward period. And some people got lucky, some people got called up to say AEW during that, which is good. It's good, but so like you said, going back to what you said about is there finally too much product? It's just now there's just enough out there. I can pick and choose what I actually want to watch, as opposed to when I was a kid, I'd probably watch anything that was in front of me. It's just
because you didn't have that ability to see all that stuff. Like,
right.
So I don't know about you, but where I grew up, we didn't have cable television, and people are gonna be like, what do you mean you didn't have cable television? There was in rural, I can't ever say the word rural, in areas of poor people or lesser homes, cable companies didn't run. They didn't run their lines down because it wasn't profitable enough for them. So we literally, when I was literally like 16 before we had more than 4 channels on our television, and I was stuck with watching WWF at the time, Superstars of Wrestling, or the Challenge, WWF Challenge, but at midnight, WCW Worldwide, I think it would play.
Most likely, yep.
Yeah, and that's where I found real wrestling, the NWA and WCW wrestling, and that's what ignited my my love for professional wrestling. I was never into the cartoon. I was never a Hulk Hogan fan. Like, I'm 44 years old, and I can honestly say I was never a Hulk Hogan fan.
It's funny you say that, because I discovered professional wrestling in 1984. Now, like you, I grew up in like a suburban area, and there were definitely areas of our town. Some areas had cable, but if you drove further into town, out into the woods, like, a lot of these people did not have cable.
Right.
And it always baffled me. And I was, God, in my late teens, in high school, and people are just like, "Oh no, I can't watch that. I don't have cable." I'm like, "What are you talking about?
You don't have cable?"
Yeah, like, what's going on? They're just like, and I thought that they were like, "Wow, man." It's like, I thought I was like the poorest kid in school. Comes to find out, they
you just lived in the best house. You lived in the lucky house.
Yeah, I lived at the edge of town, closer to would be New Haven.
Okay.
So
now, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But like yourself, like you said, I discovered professional wrestling in 1984, so I probably was only into Hulk Hogan for probably the first year of being interested in wrestling. Excuse me. At all.
And that was before he was Hulk Hogan that we know now.
Right. But I gotta also say, it's like one of the very first wrestlers that I really remember seeing on TV was Roddy Piper in WWF, destroying a jobber, and I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever. And he was the most hated man in America at that time period, and I was just drawn to him as like one of my favorite wrestlers, whether it was a heel, babyface, whatever. But like yourself, it was like once I discovered the NWA, probably 86, 87, I was just like, this is like, WWF was fake, NWA was real.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
I was like, it was darkened arenas. It's like, these guys look like they're really getting the shit.
Yeah, there's blood. There was blood in the NWA.
Yeah.
And there was pretty costumes and dogs.
Right, exactly.
Now, I had an uncle, and he's long passed now, but he had a satellite dish. Now, I don't know if in Connecticut if there was lots of satellite dishes in backyards, but in Michigan, satellites in the 80s were a big deal. And he had this satellite dish in this box on his TV in his basement. And my parents would go, we would visit, and the adults would stay upstairs and drink and party, and we babysat ourselves downstairs. It was a different world. But he knew that I had an interest in professional wrestling, and he showed me how to use a satellite dish. And I could literally watch wrestling from anywhere on the planet. Like, one night I would be able to watch World Class Championship Wrestling or the UWF, and that blew my fucking mind, because at that time I was learning about like the Freebirds and the Von Erichs through Pro Wrestling Illustrated. So I had to imagine what these matches were like and who these people were, and then to actually be able to see them, wow, that was crazy. Yeah. part of it, why ratings are down now, we're spoiled. All we have to do is sit down, turn our computer on, and we have anything that there was a good match? Click, I just found it. I didn't even have to buy it.
Right. You could find it on torrent sites still, if anybody uses those. Not that I condone that. You could find it on
Sometimes
YouTube.
money's tight. You got to steal it a little bit.
Yeah, once in a while. You got to borrow.
Are we going to feel bad about Are we going to feel bad about taking a little money out of the promoters' pockets when they're not paying the fucking talent in the first place?
That's true. That's true. But yeah, you can find, like, basically, if there's a big event and I don't have it, I can find it the next day, even sometimes an hour later. You know what I mean? And
literally,
that's one of the things. Yeah, and it's fun. Sometimes it'll be up on a website for streaming, and everything is at your fingertips now. It's like that's the difference.
It literally just happened today. Like, I sat down this morning, hungover from the night before because we had podcasts the night before. And I sat down and I was like, I don't even know what the fuck I should just go back to sleep. But you posted a video of Barry Windham versus can't remember who he was. Geez. But Barry Windham is my all-time favorite professional wrestler of
I knew that.
And
I actually did know.
And I was like, this is awesome. I don't remember this match. I've probably seen it in my youth, but so that's literally what a wrestling fan can. You don't even have to look for it anymore. People post it on Twitter. And
the weird part about that match was that it was in the UWF in 1987, and I don't remember much of Barry Windham competing in the UWF.
Now was that?
It was Bill Watts,
right just before they purchased UWF and Sting and Eddie Gilbert and all those. Okay.
I
didn't realize that was a UWF match.
Yeah, it was Jim Ross on commentary. Jim Ross came over sometime during the merger, and I think it had to be around the time period that it's real iffy. They might have been. I don't know if before Watts sold it to him, was there any kind of talent exchange? Because that's the part. Because was the Western States Heritage?
I feel like there was, but I can't say 100%.
I remember when the UWF guys were coming on because Dr. Death would show up with the UWF belt, but I don't ever remember it being vice versa. I never had the UWF TV up here. I didn't get those until I started buying them from places like RF Video back in the 90s, or through tape trading. I don't know if you were ever into tape trading.
Oh God, tape trading became like something very obsessive for me when I was when I turned about 20, 21, 22, when I had expendable money for the first time, and the internet was kind of really at that point where it's blossoming. With the message boards. The message boards, were kind of the gateway drug to really pumping the past of wrestling, and it kept my love for wrestling afloat when nothing else was really hitting me.
Before even those happened, the message boards, the tape trading boards, and websites and stuff, I used to get the names out of like back of magazines. So it used to be like. What's his name? There used to be like a magazine, New Wave Wrestling, and they used to have like write to other wrestling fans, like pen pal type stuff. There also used to be guys that be like, "Hey, I take photos at wrestling shows and sell them, etc., etc." You know what I mean? There used to be a couple guys saying that they traded tapes.
Yeah, there was one in particular that did Japanese tapes. Jeff Lynch, I think.
That sounds familiar. That sounds very
familiar. So you actually had to buy his list, and it was like a fucking dictionary of tapes that this guy had recorded off of Japanese television before New Japan World existed. And I was like, so I can buy tapes from Japan where Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody were wrestling. I can get that footage. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, what's going on? I am Gino Reynolds from the Real Gino YouTube channel. Who am I, you ask? I am a nobody, but you know what? I'm still listening to the White Trash King himself, Dennis Dubé, on The Dennis Show.
And Stan Hansen. I would list like Stan Hansen as my number 2. Barry Windham, Stan Hansen, Brody. Actually, all three of them rotate in my mind, in my heart, as three of
Depends on the mood, yeah.
Yeah, in the mood.
No,
I'm actually wearing a Bruiser Brody T-shirt right now, and I had my kids over, and my youngest Lenny, she was like, "Why do you have a T-shirt of yourself?"
That's awesome.
But yeah, I think his name is Jeff Lynch. And once we
That
post
sounds
this,
familiar.
I'm sure we'll get like people like, no, it's not. That's not his name.
I used to get a guy from Manhattan area. This guy named Omar Delgado, who
Okay.
had he had another guy, like you said, like a thick ass book of like a dictionary, like you said. There used to
Now,
be
did
this
you have
guy.
to buy the book, or did he just send it to
You
you?
had to buy. You had to send money for the list. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a guy here out of Connecticut I used to get, tapes from, but he was kind of a more on the pricier side. But a lot of times his quality was like basically like a first run. And then the trading boards, like in the later '90s, into like when the internet started to blossom, like there was like the Crazy Max board and the Death
Mhm.
Valley Driver board and stuff like that.
Yeah, Death Valley Driver was probably one
Yeah.
of the key places that I'd go to.
Yeah. And Kayfabe Memories was another one that I used to.
That was probably my favorite website growing up, wrestling wise. And then something weird happened with it. Like it just changed overnight.
It just shut down. It's still in existence, but it hasn't been
it's not the
like
same.
15 years. Yeah,
Like,
it hasn't been updated.
Like they shut the tape trading message part of it down. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
I had something I was gonna say and I just totally fucking lost it. But yeah. And then DVDs came around, and people were trying to get rid of their tapes. Yep. So you'd be able to buy VHSs because everyone was converting into DVD, and that's where I bought most of my tapes, is because people were just trying to get rid of them. When I was living with my dad, and we kind of had a falling out, so I moved out, and I was like, I don't know where I'm gonna put all these tapes now because I literally had like a library of fucking wrestling tapes.
I had boxes upon boxes, and when I moved out of my parents' house when I was the age of 21 and got my own place, I lost basically probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah, I don't have any of those.
And I recorded tons of, mostly NWA. I think this is probably before ECW was in existence. So I basically ended up starting over again, and then in the later days started trading, again. I went through a phase when I was in high school, tape trading, before the internet, and then when the internet, then I was just busy like every day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Recording. I just had, basically, before I had any kids, I had another room set up, like an extra room, and I had 2 VCRs and the television set up, and it was just, and then the DVD thing changed, and I never really, like, once the DVDs, burning software started coming in, I did that for a little while, but I never really took to it as much as
the art kind of died out of it because there was some kind of poetry in recording it on VHS, but when DVDs came out, it was just too easy just to throw it in and suck the content right into it, and it became too easy.
And I was working at Walgreens at the time, so I used to get blank VHS tapes at a discount. So I used to buy tons of them at the same time, so that was a lot of fun.
Now the question is, do you have a VCR in your house right now that works?
I do, sitting right in front of me.
Nice. Yeah. See, I don't have a VCR. I haven't had a VCR. I can't even tell you the last time I had a working VCR. Now I know my before my dad died, he bought the DVD combo VHS.
Yeah.
And this was the most convoluted fucking contraption because the remote was so sensitive that he never knew how to turn the VHS back on.
Yeah.
Or the DVD, and he'd become frustrated, and so
so when they first got those in working, they were just a mess. Yeah. But I have a bunch of VHS tapes down in the basement. No wrestling related, but my older kids, they like to go thrifting or to the flea market with me, and they always buy like a lot of Hanna-Barbera cartoons and stuff like that on VHS. Okay. My oldest son, who's 14, going on 15, just a few weeks, actually like a month. He's like obsessed with like superheroes and Hanna-Barbera cartoons, so that's what he buys. And so it's like that art with the VHS, like it's just amazing that a kid his age is like really into it, and he always has to. One of the first things we do, he just goes to the media section of like a thrift store or something and looks at the VHS tapes. It's amazing.
Yeah, and that says a lot about the art and the creation of art back then, because I don't think what's being created today will be consumed as much as what the past has, if that makes any
Right.
sense. Now,
No.
I have this thing about myself. I'm very lazy, and DVDs I threw away as soon as streaming platforms came in because I didn't want to get up and have to remove the DVD to put another DVD in. That's just who I am. I am just lazy like that. So I have all the streaming services, and people are gonna be like, "What do you mean you have all the streaming services? Are you rich?" No, I am just really bad with the money, and so
Amazing.
I have Disney Plus. And one day, me and my girls, 6 and 4, we were sitting on the couch, and they both love superheroes as well. I think everybody loves superheroes.
Yeah.
Superheroes burn the thoughts of hope into your mind, and one show popped out on Disney Plus that I haven't watched, but I've thought about often, and it's Spider-Man and his super friends. It's Spider-Man, Iceman, and Firestar. I can't remember.
This is from the 70s?
70s or 80s, yeah.
Dude, I used to watch it as a kid.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
There's one episode where they get stuck in a video game that's very jarring to me in my memories.
Yeah.
For the longest time, my mom and dad had bought me an Atari, and I wouldn't play it because I just watched that episode, and I was like, I ain't getting sucked into that fucking game, okay? But, so I said, you know what? Can we watch this? I want you to see what I watched when I was your guys' age. And so we watched it, and they loved it. And honestly, the content and the footage and the artwork, and it was horrible. Like, I was like, okay, I don't really want to watch this anymore. It doesn't carry over. But it was so simple that they loved it.
Yeah. The animation's terrible, but for some reason, those cartoons are way more intriguing than anything these kids have to watch today. I love cartoons. I'll sit there and watch older cartoons that I grew up with, or even stuff that my kids grew up with in the earlier.
What would you say was your most favorite cartoon growing up? Because we lived in a time. You're the same age as me, so we lived in the golden era of cartoons. I think.
Without a question, without a doubt, Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo. Now now my kids love Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, and I'm talking Hanna-Barbera stuff. Nothing past like in the mid to late 80s. I'm talking like like Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? And what's the other one? The Mysteries. The ones that are like the mini movies that
Sure.
Where they had like the celebrity guests and stuff like that. Like I'm like when they had like Scrappy-Doo in the 80s and stuff like that. And
my youngest Lenny fucking hates Scrappy. I think if she's seen Scrappy in real life, she would kill Scrappy.
That's when it's like Scooby-Doo like jumped the shark. They were trying
to they tried to overload with the cuteness in the
yeah. But it's like, and I was a huge like cartoon lover, especially like in the early 80s. Like Hanna-Barbera Saturday mornings were amazing. The kids do not have that today. And that's kind of a shame
because there's too many channels.
Yeah.
There's too many channels.
But nobody's watching Saturday morning cartoons. I mean, for a while it used to be Saturday morning cartoons, then things like Saved by the Bell would come on right after, stuff like that, So it was like it was kind of an all right Saturday morning, but then now it's just nothing.
Now it's because they're all pushed out to do all these sports and all these extracurricular activities. Like there's no time to just to fucking relax.
Yeah. Yep.
Because if you're not doing something, you're not doing anything, and for some reason, if you don't do anything, that's bad.
Yeah.
I'm the king of doing nothing. I don't do anything.
I wish I could be as lazy as I want to be because it's like between basketball, all the other stuff. Like my son does basketball. Now his league just ended 2 weeks ago. Guess what? Now he's in a summer league. So now I'm out. I'm out less than before. I was out 4 nights a week. Now I'm out only 2. So it's like it's pure chaos. I feel like I'm driving around from the time I get off of work to the time like 9, 10 o'clock at night. That's why I podcast at like 10:30 at night 90% of the time. I can't watch my wrestling until I'm actually sitting at my desk upstairs at work the next day on my tablet.
And you're falling asleep watching it because it's so fucking
pretty much. Yeah, for the most part.
Going back to the cartoons for a second though, Hanna-Barbera. Are the Smurfs in that line? Is that a HB show? The Smurfs.
That was a Hanna-Barbera. Shit, that's a good question. I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, I think it was too. Because that was one of the staples of our Saturday mornings was Smurfs.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring Smurfs up is because that's one of they remade Smurfs with whatever technology they have now, but it wasn't the same.
That like fake animation with the live action. So what was
Yeah.
that, Ryan Reynolds, or was that Ryan Reynolds or Jason Lee? Or was it both? I can't remember. If
Jason Lee
or,
was the Alvin
Alvin Chipmunks. Okay.
Which was incidentally the first album I ever had as a kid. I had the Alvin and Chipmunks album with Betty Davis eyes.
Was that the Chipmunk Punk one?
I don't know, but I had
hear them.
I had a big yellow record player that you could carry around. And see, we'll get into this, but music and radio have always been like really important to me for some reason. I don't know why I latched into it so young, but I remember vividly listening to like Casey Kasem's Top 40 as like a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old, and writing down who was the number one song for that week, and it's just very strange. And I always wanted to be a radio DJ. But I also was I have crippling shyness. Like I don't want to be the center of attention, but I also want everyone to know what I'm saying and what I'm doing.
It's funny you say that, because I grew up pretty awkward. You know what I mean? So the crippling shyness, I know exactly what you're talking about. However, as I got to be an adult, I kind of opened up a little bit. It used to be to the point where I used to not be able to walk into a store by myself. I just used to be like, all right, fuck this, I'm not going into the store.
Right.
I think as a teenager, I discovered some things as a teenager. Punk rock.
Okay.
And it really opened my mind. You know, it's just like, you know, and it made me feel comfortable, like sense of belonging in a way. It also opened my eyes to the government and to the Catholic Church as well. Or the church.
You were getting another side of life that no one was giving you.
Right. Because I grew up in an Italian-American household, Catholic, family. And it was just, I walked out of the Catholic Church at 16. But this whole entire thing.
You lived in a house where the ideas were oppressed, but the food was fucking amazing.
Well, there's that. It's funny because it's like my mom, before she passed, it's like that's when she started to get more relaxed with her strictness, you know what I mean, as far as like the Catholicity and stuff like that. And it's really funny. I don't want to reveal it, but I work for the largest Catholic organization in the world. Okay. So, like, that's the ironic part about this. So, is that
you don't believe in their call of action, but you do like that paycheck.
No, I do. Well, yeah, I do.
So, what are you drinking tonight, by the way? That's
I am drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Oh, I did see that Pabst Blue Ribbon. That's classic.
Yeah, it's I was kind of in a rush and I just grabbed the first thing I saw that was affordable for me.
Okay.
Tonight.
Yeah. Did you grab the 30-pack?
No, I grabbed the 12. I was trying to find the 30-pack, and for some reason, I was just like, well, it's warm, so, I'm just grabbing this shit and getting the fuck out of here. I had to pick up my son, so I literally had like 20
You're
minutes
being
to
a parent / waiting to not be a parent.
Alcoholic, yeah.
I only have alcoholics on this show because I don't want anyone looking down on me.
I'm drinking beer just about every day, to be honest with you. Like,
there's nothing wrong.
I'm surprised. Yeah. And sometimes I'll throw in some whiskey with it as well. And that's the only way I possibly. Oh, it's really rough. It's weird because it depends on my mood. It depends on what's around.
8 o'clock high.
I really, really dig Knob Creek. I don't know if you know. Yeah.
That's a pretty high end whiskey.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't buy it that often.
No. Yeah.
I stick more so with the $10, $20 bottles. So, but I do tend to if I'm like out, I'll buy it. You know what I mean? Knob Creek, Maker's Mark, Jameson, and then go with the regular old generic, but stuff, Wild Turkey, and all that other fun stuff.
That's one I've never tried. I've never tried Wild Turkey.
Really, it's to grow more hair on your balls. So
I don't need that. I'm good there. No, I just drink the popular brands of liquor. Jack Daniels, Captain
I
Morgan.
drink that. It's and I can't podcast sober. That's the other thing. I realize that it's kind of ridiculous. I sound ridiculous if I do a podcast and I'm sober. I just sound like a robot for the most part.
I think that's normal. For a lot of people, I think that's normal. I recorded a podcast while I was on my friend Shayna's podcast a couple weeks ago, and we recorded at noon. And I was like, man, I don't know. I think it was probably the first time I've ever recorded a podcast sober, and I think it was okay. But it is weird. I had to have a can of Coke in my hand just to simulate the phantom
drinking.
drunk.
Yeah.
But it's weird.
Noon, I'm already drinking if it's noon. I start. It's noon officially 12 o'clock because that's going to be no problem.
Now, are you working and drinking?
I have.
Okay, I'm not. You're in a safe zone. I'm not going to judge you because I have. So on the 4th, I used to work back in the day. I worked at a hospital. I was in the medical records department of a hospital where I was in charge of scanning millions of pages of past medical records to get them up to date, so the doctors wouldn't have to touch the dirty files. They could just get on their iPads. And I had to work holidays because I was the low man on the totem pole. And I had to work on a 4th of July, and I was kind of pissed off about it. And so I took 2 bottles of vodka with me and a gallon of orange juice, and I had myself a work day. So I actually thought about this. I wondered what percentage of the American population that does have a job right now, what percentage are drinking at work? What percentage do you think? A guesstimate, because there's no way of us telling. I would say 30%.
It's got to be a good number, because I'm going to tell you that it's not. I have, and I mean, now I'm working from home for the last year since COVID, but even in the office,
so it's easy.
Yeah. I mean, yesterday I just freaking made like 3 mixed drinks the last half hour of my work. And yes, I guzzled them down. So I was pretty buzzed when I got off, and then I went to go take a ride, and I just grabbed a couple beers to bring with me. So, so I was pretty buzzed within the hour. But even in the office, I used to have a beer in my backpack, you know what I mean? And pour it in my coffee mug. So, or used to go to the on lunch break, used to go to the bar across the street and grab a drink or two and do a couple shots. And sometimes this is the kind of place that I work, mind you. It stresses you out, and that couple drinks could actually ease the rest of your second half of your day.
You end up not getting fired because you did have those drinks.
Exactly.
I remember my dad was a welder for the union here in Michigan, and he told me many stories about how him and his buddies would go to lunch at the bar and end up not going back to work because lunch was so good. And many times the foreman would come in and be like, "Are you guys coming back to work?" Or, No, we're not. We're done for the day." But yeah, it's not something that happens anymore, I don't think. But my brother, he works in the union now, and if there's a trickle of rain, if there's just like a bead of rain that hits the back of their necks, they're at the bar getting breakfast. So drinking on the job is probably the best thing that could happen to you.
Right. Yeah.
No one should judge you for that.
It should not be illegal, or not that it's not illegal, but it's like it should not be frowned upon. It should not be a fireable consequence.
I always said this back in the day when smoking wasn't banned and everywhere. They always had smoking areas for employees.
Mm-hmm.
Where the fuck is the drinking areas for the employees? If they can smoke, I should be able to take a couple beers.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
I could get like 4 beers in lunchtime, and then I'm going to give you so much good work. Probably not. I'm probably going to
Probably fall asleep. Yeah.
I'm probably going to eat my lunch after lunch and then fall asleep underneath the desk. But that's okay. I'm not going to do it every day. I'm just only going to do it on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. You're going to get good work from Wednesday and Friday.
All right.
Now, so here's the question.
Sure.
we're talking on the microphones, and obviously, at some point in your life, you fell in love with either conversation or radio. And I know that in the past you worked at a radio station as a DJ. I'm guessing like a top 40 station?
Nope. No, just a small, it's probably college radio, I guess.
College
like on
radio?
that level. Public
Okay.
radio, that kind of a thing.
Now, was that something that you wanted to do before you were doing it, or did you just stumble into that?
I've had this obsession with music since I was a kid.
You
There's
had
three things. I'm sorry, go ahead.
you had an obsession with what?
Music,
Okay.
records. There's three things I fell in love with at a very young age. It's outside, music, professional wrestling, and baseball.
Okay.
So,
very much the same thing with me. Like baseball was, I think baseball was my first love.
yeah, I think I just, I don't follow as much now in the last year, maybe two. But I will sit here and watch the Red Sox and get drunk every now and again and have a blast,
Yeah, see, I have to limit myself on how much baseball I watch of my home team of the Tigers. I get frustrated and I have anger management issues. So it's not good for my health if I watch a lot of baseball. I watch about 3 or 4 innings, and then when something bad happens, I have to say, you know what? I'm going to tap out now.
The better part is you got to towards the end. You know what I mean? To get in towards the end, so you missed the first half. The end there is
sure.
That's when people are more so tired, but it's I guess that's the important part of the game, right?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, that's where the main.
You got to find out who wins, who loses, right? So where did I go with this? The record part is my biological father was like a huge music nut.
Okay.
He had tons of records. And I didn't know until later that a lot of the stuff that he listened to was like the kind of oddball stuff of the day. I guess like Bowie. I mean, while he had top 40 hits, he was considered kind of artsy.
Sure. He was more of a cult artist.
Yes, like he liked a lot of that kind of stuff. And then my mom liked a lot of like oldies, like 50s and 60s music.
A lot of Elvis.
Oh God, yeah. That was my first musical obsession was Elvis. Sure. I just remember having these 2 Elvis records, like compilation records that were like mail away records, kind of like the K-Tel type stuff, like the equivalent. And just played them to no end. And even I had them up until I was in my 30s. I don't know whatever happened to them after that. Maybe when I divorced my first wife, I lost them. I don't know. Because I lost a lot of records at that time period. But these 2 records stuck with me for so long that they were just so destroyed. And I just played them over and over as a kid. Sinatra was one of the first concerts I ever saw, ever. Yeah. So it's like I just got interested in pop music or just music in general, I should say. I wouldn't say like, when I say pop music, I don't mean like Casey Kasem's top 40. While there was some good stuff, you know what I mean? But like, for lack of a better term. As I got older, I just, I had done some work on radio stations and then worked in music clubs, I did a magazine. I worked on magazines, music fanzines before, with people.
Sure.
Took photos, and it was just something that I really loved. I probably can't say how many concerts I've been to in my life. It's just something that I was like really obsessed with for a very, very long time. Besides that, and then I don't know, man. It's just like that took up a good portion of like my teenage and well into my 20s. It was just such a blast to do that stuff. And then probably in my later 30s, I started to get back into it, doing some internet shows, like radio shows and a couple different radio stations. So I was probably on, mostly it was a friend of mine that got me more interested in it again because he had a show and he said, hey, come on down, bring a bunch of records with you. We'll play whatever you bring with you. I had a blast, So I came back a couple weeks later and then we were doing that show for a couple months, and then he decided to say, all right, I'm moving out to California. So then the show got canceled because he was the in
that
on the
selfish
station.
bastard.
Yeah, pretty much. I was having a blast. I was like, honestly, I probably could have worked my way into to continuing the show, but I didn't think of it. And then, I did a couple other shows, and
so it's really strange to me. It's strange because our lives kind of travel in a parallel. I also started. I didn't have a friend that started a radio show, but I became very intrigued by the possibilities of streaming audio. And so I spent money out of my pocket for a program called Sam Broadcaster. And I don't know if that's what you guys use or not, but it was a very expensive program.
Yeah.
And I started my own radio show. We were using Winamp servers to stream them. And we would get like 6 or 7 listeners. And I was like, 6 people are listening to this station. I'm a success. And I paid people to do like radio bumpers for me, and it was the key to this conversation and this show tonight is obsession and addiction. I became addicted with this idea that I was creating some sort of new art when really all we were doing was stealing an idea from terrestrial radio.
Right.
But it was so fun. And that was like the early stages with like Real Audio, Mark Cuban's program. And it was just so. It was something that I never thought I would be able to do. And why I put people that play music on a radio to such high standards, I don't know. But it just seems like the coolest thing in the world.
Well, it depends, and because a lot of these people, I thought about this is one of the things. I was just like, I want to do this for a living. Okay, I was like, I want to do radio for a living. First off, like you said, like you said earlier about yourself, it's like I'm the shyest person in the world. Like, it wasn't until I actually started my own podcast that I kind of came out of my shell, or like I said, discovering punk rock. But
do you think it's easier to do it like this though, because we don't have to be around other people, that we can still kind of step back?
I can't tell you how many episodes I recorded and then wouldn't release.
That's interesting that you say that, because I do have another person on my Twitter feed that I talked to that started a podcast. And I think sometimes they overthink what they're doing, and they don't release they don't release the shows because they fear what people are going to say. But I have the beer hiccups all of a sudden. The fact is, no one's listening to your show anyways, right? I mean, 3 people are listening. Yeah. Why do we fucking care what those 3 people say?
Right. I mean, at least, you know what? It counts as a listen if somebody listens like more than a minute or something like that, right? So it registers. So that's okay by me. It's like, hey, somebody listen,
I'm not saying that's not, I'm not judging that. I'm just saying, why do we put so much on our shoulders? Like, I can't release that because I missaid something,
Yeah, one of the things is like I didn't want to look like an idiot, kind of a thing. But I'm just like, why do I care?
Yeah, exactly.
I started to just not care, and I started to grow out of it. And so I forgot where I was going with this again. But the music thing, it's just I wanted to do radio again. And then I was just like, this is what I'm going to do with my life. I was like, I hate my job. I really hate my job. I want to get a job in radio. But then I'm sitting here like, I don't want to get paid to play. I don't know. Name some top 40 artists from today. I can't even name anybody.
Oh, I couldn't. Yeah. I literally did not listen to the radio in.
Yeah. So I was like, holy shit, I'm that old guy. I was like, if I don't know anything, it's the only thing I know is the stuff that my kids play. And I'm just like, I'm not going to be on some hip hop station. I know nothing about that stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, let's just, then I was like, let me do a show. Let me call WPKN out of Bridgeport, Connecticut. The public radio, Connecticut Public Radio. And I spoke to one of the guys there, and he was really interested in having me. And then another guy was interested in having me on his station. And then just for one reason or another, and then there's another sorry, before I get into that, there's another like kind of like a Connecticut internet radio station. It's run like a public radio where basically people volunteer. You know, they take donations to keep the website running,
like PBS on TV,
stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. So it's like I'm going to get on the show there. It's just like somebody messaged me, actually came out of nowhere one day. It was like, hey, listen, we'd really like to have you on. You know, I worked in a record store, by the way, for 25 years, and I still
yeah.
So that's the other thing. Is like, you know, it's just like some of the people knew. It's like we know what you're all about. Basically, it's like
we know you have some knowledge about the records and music and all that shit.
Yeah. So and they know that I'd probably put on something cool and interesting. But so I messaged the guy, and he was just kind of like iffy and weird about it. It's just like, so I was like, all right, well, fuck it, never mind. I was like, there's nothing else that I could do. I was like, I'm not. So I started DJing at clubs a little bit. My buddy would sit at a club, get paid mostly in beer, whiskey, any liquor that he wants, and
sounds like a good job to me.
Yeah, he gets to play records for 4 hours on a Sunday night and a Tuesday night. And so sounds like a good job or good, side whatever. Like, I get to freaking drink as much beer as I want, literally, and top
I
shelf.
will destroy that
free.
bar.
And then they're gonna pay me on top of that. So I started doing that to try, and it opened me up. You know what I mean? It kind of got a lot away, got rid of my shyness a little bit. So then I just kind of started looking into the doing an internet radio show, maybe doing like a podcast. And for some reason, I think I mentioned this off air, is that my son was really into like wrestling, and somehow I was having trouble getting like a radio show started, and then for some reason I just discovered the world of wrestling podcasting. So I'm just going to do this, and it took me probably another 2 years to get that started, and before I felt comfortable enough. And when I finally did, it took me a while to get comfortable and just to release episodes. I was releasing shows that were like 5-10 minutes long, and they weren't very interesting. And then I just felt better about it and more confident. I started working with other people, and that's where I'm at today, pretty much. But I started recently doing shows where I'm spinning a bunch of records. You know what I mean? And releasing them on the same platform. And that's been a blast.
What is your mind frame setting up a set of songs? What are you looking to do? Like, are you trying to tell a story through the songs, or are you just playing shit that you like?
Playing shit that I like, but I'm just like, this is a fucking great song. I need other people to hear this.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I'm sure it's like somebody has, but it's like a lot of the stuff I'll play is like oddball 60s garage rock, really weird 50s rockabilly that nobody fucking remembers. When it comes to record collecting, I collect like a lot of rockabilly records. I'm not sure if you listen to that stuff at all.
I mean, I have, but I couldn't tell you anybody that I've heard.
Yeah. And my thing is, it's basically the beginnings of punk in a way, and it's just very enjoyable for me to like play that stuff. I go to there's all sorts of stuff that goes on here. So, I mean, I'm sure I'm going to do other stuff. I literally in the last month I bought 50 records. I can't even believe I bought that many records. Like, and yeah, I just went nuts one week, and that was all in a week period.
No, I'm assuming that you're buying these at thrift stores.
No, I bought these all on.
You're buying
online.
Collectors? Oh, online. Okay.
No, online. Yeah, there's a label, Norton Records, which puts out like they reissue like a lot of really oddball rock and roll.
Now, are we gonna have to start a GoFundMe for you to financially save you from this?
Yeah, you might need to save my house. So I just there was just one day I just went nuts, and I was like, damn. But it felt good because I hadn't bought records in a long time because I don't really buy records that often. I just so happened to go nuts in 1 week, and I was just like,
you blacked out, and you just kept hitting.
Pretty much.
Bye.
Yeah.
Hey man, that happens to me too, but it's usually just for tacos.
So that probably won't happen again until next year. To be let's be serious. You know what I mean? But I work in a record store, so I bring stuff home every time I work. That's like my part-time gig. Is like I always bring home tons of records. You know what I mean? So That's where I get the majority of it from, and then on top of getting paid. So
Now, I would be remiss to not bring up a very important subject between you and myself, and I think you know where I'm going with this. Pizza.
I still have some here.
Now,
Yes,
please tell me that the pizza that you purchased tonight is not a chain pizza.
No, I don't buy chain pizza at all.
That's why you're on my friend list. That's why you had to be the number. So this is episode 2 of the Dennis Show, and you are the first official guest of the Dennis Show. So
Awesome.
that's big. That's big news for you. You can tell all your friends. You can tell all your friends about that. Where did you get your pizza from tonight?
I'm going to tell you.
Because you live in the actual pizza capital of the United States.
I do.
Fuck New York.
Right.
Fuck Chicago. Connecticut is the number one. Although I will say this, the thoughts of clams on my pizza repulses me.
Oh man, that's because you had it from the wrong place.
I've never had it. I've never had clams on pizza, but I don't like clams. So the idea of throwing them on a pizza is just not something I want to do.
All right, so let's say this. There's a new place that literally opened up within walking distance of me.
Jesus, that's dangerous.
Tell me, I've eaten there every day for the last 2 weeks for lunch, and I can just feel my stomach growing. Because
I noticed you don't have pants on tonight.
So
I wasn't going to bring it up, but that's fine.
Mind you, the pizza place across the street from them, since we moved into this house, was my favorite. And then these guys.
Wait, so there was another. So you got 2 pizza places that you could literally drunkenly stumble.
Absolutely.
Oh man,
yes, it's a shame. It's a shame. And the thing is, there's this place called Donato's that just opened up. Mind you, It was an empty lot about 6 months ago. And it opened up, I don't know, a couple months back. And one day my wife ran out on her lunch break and then came home with some stuffed bread. Damn, that was really good. And then...
So say it again, stuffed bread? Is that what you said?
Yep. So,
okay, what was it stuffed with? Like, so not everyone lives in Connecticut. Was it just cheese stuffed bread or...
That's really interesting because you're not the first person that has said this to me. That there was somebody. You live in Michigan. I got a buddy that comes on my podcast frequently. Lives in Chicago, and he's never heard of stuffed bread before. And I think is that something that you guys don't have out there?
I mean, we have like stuffed crust pizza.
No. I'm amazed right now, like literally. So basically, it's like an Italian loaf of bread.
Okay.
But it's like, they probably assemble it flat and then they put ingredients. And then there's cheese. I have sausage and peppers. Sausage and red peppers.
So is it? Would you consider it like maybe like a calzone of some sort?
Calzones have like ricotta and other cheeses in them. This has
yes.
mozzarella. So.
People, I've gotten into arguments about this with people about. You have to have the regatta cheese in a calzone, or it's not a calzone. Yes. It's just a fucking sandwich.
It's just stuffed bread.
Yeah.
So basically, this is. So she brought this home one day, and I was like, "Damn, that was really good." And literally, we were trying everything on the menu. I said, one day I was just like, "You realize this is a fucking pizza place we have yet to try."
Never had the pizza.
We've been trying everything. I was like, shit, yeah. So one day I just ordered. I ordered a small pizza. We split it for lunch. Mind you, that was probably the first mistake because it was a small pizza for 2 people.
Yeah, why would you get a small pizza?
I don't know what the hell we were
thinking. You were mad about it afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really fucking good. I was like amazed. And, mind you, there's another place called Sergio's across the street. Since we moved into this house 2 years ago, that's the only pizza place that we've eaten from.
Okay.
And that is like, both of them were like New Haven style pizzas, which is, we are 10 minutes from New Haven. New Haven is the greatest in the world.
Yeah. New Haven pizza is, now I've never had it. I've only lived vicariously through videos on YouTube through it. But I dream about New Haven pizza. And every time I sit down and have a slice of pizza in this godforsaken state of Michigan, I cry because I desperately need to have New Haven pizza. Now,
I
New
told
Haven pizza is not called pizza; it's called a pizza.
Beats.
A pizza. A pizza.
I told you, man, you got to come to New Haven.
Oh,
and
I'm going to eventually. Someday I will.
I'll give you a tour.
But they're all
So
coal-based pizzas, right? Like
most of them are like some of them are firewood based.
firewood. Okay.
Yeah. Do you have Prime Video?
I do.
Okay. There's a documentary on there called Pizza: A Love Story. It's about New Haven pizza. It's about
I've probably watched it drunkenly, but
It's
I
amazing.
will check. I'll check it out again tonight.
I don't know if it's just amazing because I'm from New Haven. My friends worked on the film. They went as far as like getting somebody like Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick in the movie because he
Okay.
every time he's in New
And
Haven.
see, you know what? Now that you say that, I swear that I probably have seen it. I'm a big fan of Dave Portnoy's One Bite reviews, one bite pizza reviews.
All right.
And that's how I learned of New Haven's amazing pizza, because he doesn't generally give out really good scores. Like it's usually like 7.2 out of 10. But when he went to New Haven, there was like 4 pizza places on a corner of each road that he gave 9.
Worcester Square. Yeah, Worcester Square is called. There's just a couple pizza places that are absolutely legendary and known throughout this entire world.
Yeah, so I need to go there. That's when I go to New Haven. Take me straight to that corner, that square, and let me die happy.
I'm going to tell you that one of them is Frank Pepe's. I'm sure you've heard of that one.
Yes, I
Everybody's
have.
heard that one. People like De Niro go online and just rave about them. You know what I mean? Like every
Was that the
celebrity
original clam pizza place?
That's a good question. That part I don't know.
Seems like that was the originator, but I can't remember.
Also on that same block is a place called Sally's, which is my absolute personal favorite pizza. The reason why I never eat there, it's impossible to get into. Literally.
It's so good that there's too many people.
They open up at 5 o'clock at night. Literally, there's already a line down the road at 4 o'clock for waiting for people to get in. I've tried. They don't take any orders prior to them opening up. And so when
it's
they
first
open
come,
up,
first serve.
Yeah, it's like last time I tried calling them, it took me about an hour and a half to get through the phone, and then they told me it was an hour and a half wait. I said never. Yeah,
that's
so I was like,
insane.
Yeah, it is. That's how good they're.
And that's Sally's.
Sally's. Yep.
So I'm just gonna put a line through their name and say that I'm never gonna have that pizza.
One day I haven't had it in a very long time because of those reasons.
What you need to do for your podcast or your YouTube channel is document a day in the life of trying to get Sally's pizza.
That's a good idea, actually.
And then they're going to call you up and they'll be like, "We're so sorry. We saw your documentary on the YouTube. Come on in, get yourself a free pizza."
Sally's is the place that like Sinatra would go to when he would come into town. There's a picture of him in there, sitting in the restaurant. It's
and they're
amazing.
all in their same original buildings, same original ovens.
Yep.
That's amazing. That's like the heart of America to me.
Yeah. We have some of the best pizza. I don't know if it's because I'm loyal because it's where I'm from, but literally I've gone to New York. I've had pizza in New York. It's nothing compared to what we have here.
It's good, but not great. So let me ask you this. I despise sweet pizza sauce. Please tell me that Connecticut doesn't deal with the sugar sauce.
At least the places that I have gone, no. I can't eat pizza that has sugar in it. I think it's disgusting. First off,
it's horrible.
Yeah, it is. I'm bad enough that I'm not supposed to be eating tomatoes to begin with because I have a issue.
Oh yeah, I hear you. I have the acid reflux. I have the ulcers. I have all that.
I'm on medication for it because it's so bad. My doctor was concerned about the acid levels because I put a hole in my stomach, and when I saw him talk to me, his eyes were like.
People don't know that that's a real thing. You can give yourself a food hernia. It burns into your stomach. That's a legit thing, and welcome to the club.
Yeah, I was literally hospitalized because it was that bad for a while, and it's better now. ever since he put me on, I've tried many different medications. A lot of that over-the-counter stuff, it's all garbage. It doesn't work. Get something that's a really good prescription, and you'll be rocking. We're doing old man talk now. We're talking about medications and stuff. Heart.
I think we've touched on everything.
Yeah. The sugar though, go to a place like Little Caesars or something, or like
hold on, slow down. Let's not throw Little Caesars under. Little Caesars sauce isn't sweet. Their sauce is actually tangy and spicy. Now, if you want to throw a chain under the bus, let's talk about Pizza Hut, because they actually even advertise it as a sweet sauce.
Yeah,
you fucking sauce. Morons.
Some people. I grew up, like I told you earlier, in an Italian-American household. And there were some people would put sugar in their sauce to kill the acid. I'm just like, but it tastes like shit. My parents
might as well just put your balls in your sauce because it's disgusting.
It's like, so it's just like, some people would do that. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I said, my parents never did it. It's gross. It just adds, there's no flavor to it. I'm a garlic addict, so just tons of garlic.
Yeah, my perfect pizza. There is this one place in town in this shitty restaurant pizza place that I live in. They built their own wood fired pit, and they cook the pizzas. It takes 2 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Minutes. Yeah, and they have a pizza, a garlic pepperoni pizza. And they just chop up the garlic. It's chopped garlic, real garlic. It's not this garlic powder or garlic salt. It's chunks of garlic shaved. It is so good. But you can't eat a lot of it because, I can't because it fires up my stomach as well.
When I make a sauce, and I haven't made it in a long time, but, it's now my dad's living with us. So I leave him to making the sauce. I would never chop up the garlic. I would just peel it and throw the whole chunks in there because I love getting that soft cooked garlic.
Oh, absolutely! Tastes so good.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Now, do you roast your garlic at all? Like some people, like I've done it.
I put in usually I put onions in my sauce. Some people don't.
I'm not an onion fan.
I love onions. I put onions in it, let them simmer for a little bit, get them a little soft, and then I put the garlic in it. But you can only put the garlic in there for just a tiny bit before you got to throw the actual tomatoes in.
Sure, yeah, before it burns.
Because it burns.
Because burnt garlic is not a fun garlic.
Yeah, it's not. Not at all.
All right, we're going on an hour here, so we're going to wrap it up. But the last question I'm going to ask you is the most important pizza question of the day.
Okay.
Pineapple? Pineapple on pizza?
What do you think? I grew up in Halo. Do you think
can you even get pineapple on a Connecticut pizza?
You can.
You can. They do offer that?
It depends. Most of the time it's from like Greek pizza places. It's not necessarily Italian pizza places.
They're the new pizza places that are trying to turn over. Yeah. They're trying to start a revolution with their sweet pizzas.
I'm not a pineapple pizza fan. What was I gonna say? Does Domino's and like say Little Caesars put pineapple on their pizzas? I don't know.
Little Caesars
has
an Hawaiian pizza, which is funny because pineapple pizza came from Canada, so I don't know how they got this Hawaiian connection. Yeah, the origins of a pineapple pizza was Canadian bacon and pineapple in the great country of Canada. They hit a home run with poutine. But then they backdoored us with pineapple pizza.
Yeah, no pineapple. I will never. I do eat the clams every now and again, but it's. You got to get a good clam pizza. You don't like clams, but I tell you, if I take you to the place with a clam pizza that's good, I guarantee you'll like this one. I swear.
No.
All right, fine.
All right. So, this is episode number 2. I thought this was a pretty fun conversation with you, my friend.
Absolutely. I'd love to do it again.
I think we left a lot of things untouched that maybe we'll come back to again and I will invite you on for another episode. And
Awesome.
there's so many things that we can talk about that we didn't talk about. But I don't structure these conversations. I just let them flow as they do, and we'll piggyback sometime. And there's hot dogs to talk about. There's so many foods that we can talk about. Meats, cured meats, professional wrestling. We could do a top 10 records. There's so much.
Yeah.
But
I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Awesome. Plug your podcast again.
All right, my podcast is the PWZ podcast. It's all about wrestling, and every now and again I'll throw in a miscellaneous one where I'm just spinning a bunch of records because I have no wrestling to talk about. So, that time period, I did not watch any wrestling for about a good month. There's another one coming up just for the sake of me loving it, and because I got a lot of new records that I'm really in love with right now that I'm going to just let the entire world hear. You can find it everywhere. I usually comes out on YouTube, and now it's part of the BWB.
Yeah, so you can just go to bumwinebob.com, and he'll have his shows posted there. And you can go to his Twitter page. And I'm sure I'll retweet it, so you can go to mine.
Yep.
And all right, man. I had a lot of fun.
Me too.
It's a lot better to have someone on the show than to do a show solo. It's so hard to do a solo show.
Yeah. Like I said, it's very difficult to make a full episode, I feel.
Yeah. I feel crazy talking to myself.
Yeah, exactly. I record them in the car sometimes and by myself, and I swear people drive by me and I'm like, man, that just looks so fucking away. Yeah, exactly.
He looks intoxicated and insane. All right, man.
It's most likely both. All right, thank you.
All right, we're done.
All right.
Hit the stop.